I hope
All
today's
right.
the
So
15th.
why don't you take it away?
All right. Hi, everybody. Before I introduce Henry and Evelyn to all of you, I want to just welcome you to the, I don't know if this is our 11th week of the webinars. And as you know, we've sort of reorganized a little bit. We have 3 a week now instead of 4, and 2 of them are, maybe all 3 are 45 minutes long. So giving a little more time for discussion and chat and dialogue. So, and we'll reevaluate as time goes on. Just, I meant to change that picture, but I didn't, but that's Governor Baker again at Lab Central, where they were developing some of the companies there were developing testing and other devices. So the number of people tested rose again to almost 700,000 people. It rose actually a little less than the previous week. It had risen by 59,000 people. So it's still pretty good considering that, you know, how many months we're into the crisis and things are slowing down. Total number of cases rose by 2,500 people to 105,059. And this is the date of the 12th versus the date of the 5th. I'm using Friday to Friday because I don't get reports on Sunday anymore. So that gives you a sense. It's much lower rise than the previous week because I had said the previous week, because I'd looked at different dates, had actually looked higher than the week before that, but it's also lower than the week before that. And the number of people who died rose by 303, less than last week and 2 weeks before. So it truly is on a downward trend. I also, you know, I messed around up. Let me go back. We do get a report now. This is the 3rd week in a row, maybe 4th week in a row. And there's been like 6 weeks of reports on what happens in the DDS group home settings and staff departments. It doesn't cover everybody. Obviously, people live with family, people have self-direction, people have combination of self-direction and PCA services. So this covers the people, state-operated and private vendor homes. There's about 7,800 private vendor ones and about 1,000 or so state-operated homes. 1,410 people at this point, 16% or so have the virus. I know in the public, it's 15% right now, something like that. A couple of weeks ago, it was at 16%. 85 persons have died during the pandemic. That number's gone up by 3 people since last week. So we, you know, obviously grieve for them and the others of the people that have died with the pandemic, disabled or not. And the 2 DDS facilities, Rentham and Hogan, had 106 people out of 328 served there who had gotten infected. So, you know, their infection rate is, you know, about 32%, less than 10 deaths there. I don't have a handle on the exact number. And that's in addition to the 85. And you can keep up every week, every Wednesday. You can go to this link, which you'll get from Kerry later. That'll give you the what happens during the week. So today is a special day. It's Henry and Evelyne Milorin have been activists for decades. And they, I mean, I'm thinking from the 90s, I think we would have known each other. It's hard to believe it's 2020. Reggie was probably a teenager then, maybe even a little younger. No, he's probably a teen then. I'm trying to remember back to the 90s. It's hard. And Henry was active in the Government Affairs Committee from the start and then came onto our board in the 2000. He's been on the Massachusetts Developmental Disabilities Council. He's been very active politically in Massachusetts. And Evelyne, parallel to Henry, had been on the Family Steering Committee before. That's the waiting list, if you recall, and that was the 90s. And actually 2000s. Oh my God. It was after the Boulay period, I think. No, it was actually late 90s that the Family Steering Committee started. And then she was a Len Fellow. For those of you that don't know about that, they actively recruit annually for leadership training. And there's 2 of them in Massachusetts. One is at ICI, and UMass and Children's Hospital, and the other is at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center and Shriver Center. And it's a great opportunity, but she didn't stop there. She became a Gopin Fellow, which I don't have listed here. And then she became a Kennedy Fellow and worked closely with Eunice Shriver. And I remember I was on the phone with Mrs. Shriver soon after Evelyne had been picked, and she said, "What do you think of Evelyne?" And she knew what I thought. And, very, obviously complimentary phone call. So they've been active in Communitas. They connected the ARC with HAFI decades ago. They've nurtured families in the Haitian-American Public Health Institute and other organizations. And so it's a pleasure to have you with me today. So how are you guys doing today?
Oh, we're doing good. I don't want to say it for Evelyne, but it's an honor that we can be with you today.
Likewise.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see you, and I'm trying to get my camera back on. Here it is. Okay, hopefully we'll get my camera so I can see you guys. We got a great turnout here. I thought before we talk about raising Reggie, there is a story that you told me that I had never heard before until we were doing some video taping about half a year ago. And are you comfortable with starting with that, or do you want to start with something else? Because you might have something in mind, but it's the story at the police chief that really hit home to me. Because
we can start with anyone you choose, that is, because us, Leo, we're very flexible and comfortable when it comes to talk to our disability or any other group of citizens.
Okay.
So, one of the things we had raising Reggie here was the fact Reggie at a teen used to run away. And as he was running away, we decided the best thing to do is to expose him with the police. Knowing Reggie had a speech impaired, at the time he couldn't answer a question to what's your name, where do you live. Today he's so good at it, he can write it down. But what we chose to do was to expose the Medford Police Department, which is the city where we live, and they were fortunate to receive us with open arms. And we told them about Reggie. We showed them Reggie's picture, and the chief went further at roll call and shared that because they have 3 roll call, but at the time they had 3 roll call a day. They were working on 3 shifts. So every police officer in the city of Medford knew Reggie by face. So we'll be at home sitting down on a given Saturday, Reggie will disappear, we won't know it. And before we know it, there was a police at the door, ringing our doorbell and said, we found Reggie. So that was excellent. That was a good relation.
So we knew each other a long time, and we never really talked about things like that, right? And it's as much as, obviously on me, that I never asked you about those. And we saw each other a lot over the years. So the fact that I was ignorant and didn't ask about the intersection of race and disability, right? Your fear that, and Henry had a great way of telling me the story that night, Neville, and they were telling me different stories, but that story you said he's a tall like me, but he's better looking. You said when you told the police chief. That was good. So, but it hit home to me that the things you had to worry about, right, that maybe some other families didn't have to worry about, in terms, and this is going back, was he a teen, right? When I met you guys, he was what, 1990s? When was he born?
A little bit before 1992. 92.
He was 22 years old, no, 24 years old at that time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
we were crossing over 22 years old when he left Arlington High School.
So you were in the 70s and 80s worrying about this beautiful, and he's a very good looking guy. He truly is good looking. And he's a dark, silent type, as they would say. And because again, verbally, he wouldn't say much with his autism and disability, but yet he knew what was going on. He'd look, I always feel like he was checking things out, but he would run away, and you would worry about people getting threatened by him, potentially even, because he's big, but he was not threatening at all as a person, right?
Well, the problem that we face, I'll be truthful, because one of the things you said, I can touch to that quickly, is the fact we had better thing to work as an ally when we met, then trying to find out about our background. The thing that we had a disability that connected us. Our job was to work with the government to find better treatment for our people with disability. And there, we never had a chance to talk about it. The only thing I think yes, they were born and raised in Haiti. We never knew why we came to America. Like I told people, I came to the United States to go to medical school. A lot of people didn't know that, okay? That's the reason I ended up living in Medford and choose Tufts to go to Tufts University. But the problem we're facing, I told people, when it comes to racism, which is what we're facing today, there's a tension of racism. I told people, when you hear racism, you think automatically it's a question of color. No, actually, I've been involved in two ways within racism. I had the white population versus me, and I had the black population versus me. Because racism, like I told people, is not discrimination, it's not segregation, it's not prejudice, it's not bias, it's not it's not bigotry. Racism is purely a belief, a doctrine, okay? A doctrine that brings differences among human race. We all are part of human race. Like I told people, when I came to this country, at one point I knew my first name was nigger or black, okay? That was my first name. Certainly it changed from Haiti to the United States. Now you're looking at a country who's gonna be 244 years old, okay, in July, okay? And we still at that point. Whether it's the education system, whether it's what we're teaching people, the thing I told others, don't let the words, the calling, the name calling change your direction of who you are. Who you are is important. What you want to do and achieve is important. Because when I work for everybody. I work for the yellow, the blues, the white, name it. If you have disability, you are, I believe you heard me say that before.
Yeah. Well, you've been very active.
We have more than one kids.
Yeah.
More than one kids.
You were active not only with us at DD Council, Communitas, which was East Middlesex, the Arc of East Middlesex, and then HAFI. And I want to ask you before, because you're active right now doing a bunch of stuff that I want to talk about today. But before I go there, did you, in helping and nurturing folks at HAFI as leaders, did you sense them struggling with that racism that, I know you connected us to HAFI because you wanted the families there to learn about advocacy and help themselves to succeed and be part of our wider network. And probably it's one of the closest relationships we have with the non-chapter, right? And Ronald Raphael was a great guy, just a wonderful leader. But that was your, you had a method in your that was your strategy, right? You wanted to make sure they were part of the broader family.
The privilege that we had, we always call it, it's a blessing. What we found when we came here, we want to leave something better. And people say it's a legacy. I don't work for legacy. I work to make things better for others. However they want to call it, that's their problem, but that's the way I look at it. I don't use those words. My Haitian brothers, at one point, I was called when they were creating HAFI, but because I was the bread and butter winner, I was the one working. Everyone had to stay home to take care of the kids, especially Reggie, who was a handful. You need 4 hands. Everyone only had 2. I realized my brothers and sisters didn't get too involved in the political circle of things. Unless you get involved in political, you don't have a voice. And most of them, because of a language barrier, that was in English as a second language, had an issue. I don't want to say this and be wrong, but we told them, you have to be a part of. We started to use HAFI. Thanks God I was on the board. I was on a political action committee, and I've learned how to really advocate with the Act of Hacks And I said, okay, this is what we're going to teach them. And I do recall the year we had legislative breakfast. Evelyne was in Washington, D.C., 2004. That's the year I stood with them, and I said, now, guess what? Evelyne is not here. You're going to have to advocate for yourself as a group of Haitians. They asked me what to do. We sat down. Mary Lou was president at the time. We worked together. We taught them what to say, where to go, give them like we do every year. And then when I then did that day, I stood there at the grand stair.
Yeah.
Okay, tear came down my eyes. As I'm saying it now, I feel really, a little emotional about it, because they went out there and did it. And when they came, I stayed there until the end. And each of them told me, Henry, I went to see so-and-so, I went to see this House rep, I went to see the state senator, and this is what we said. Some of them weren't there. We left messages, we dropped out. And I was so emotional. I said, now you guys can do it. And they've been doing it since. They've been doing it.
Which is
Yeah, one thing, Leo.
Evelyn, please.
Yes, and the stressful time when Reggie used to leave the house, we have the railroad track for the community wells, and the neighbors around the road are the one that used to call the police to get Reggie. Every time, at one point, like Henry mentioned, they knew him so well. Soon as they got the phone call, they went and just picked up Reggie and brought it. And it was such a stressful and scary time every time. And that railroad track, almost every year, we have young kids, adults being killed. And thank God Reggie spent all those years. I am so grateful until today to the police in Medford. They were there for us, and they avoid us to the tragedy.
Yeah. And they would have, you said to him, you didn't tell the group here, please don't put handcuffs on him if you see him. Because he's not gonna, because he's a big kid. He wasn't gonna be kind of that. You were fortunate. Now, when he was growing up, you still worried though, right? Because of the racism that was there.
Yeah.
Basically, we raised Reggie in a bubble. I will say it was a bubble. But if you recall, okay, our government affairs committee had a bill that was submitted, and I got involved in that. I went to the police academy and tried to talk them into train police officers to deal with people with, different type of disabilities. And some did, some didn't. I'll give you an example, and my wife always referred that. If you take your time, you talk to, in this case, Reggie's, who has autism, and you tell him, Reggie had a cut on his head, jumping, and my wife took him to the hospital. The doctor was gonna actually restrain him. My wife said, no, don't restrain him. He's a human being, talk to him. At the time, Reggie was like 17 or 18 years old?
Yeah.
Okay, so big guy said, no, talk to him. So the doctor sat and talked with Reggie and said, Reggie, you have a cut. He's gonna need stitches. Okay, we're gonna give you, I think, eight stitches. This is how, here's the stitch, here's the thing, the needle, this is how we're gonna do it. He sat down, the doctor lied down, the doctor started to do it, count, 1, 2, then when he got to 8, he realized he needed one more to make it 9. And Reggie said, Reggie, one more. Reggie said, finish. Okay, and he stopped.
Yeah.
Right there. So he put a little band-aid to hold it in place. So love and communication is important.
What a great story. That is a great story, because here he said, I've had my limit. I hit my limit, right? That was his way of saying it. And the doctor actually listened to him, which is shocking to me. Okay, I'm impressed very much. We have so low expectations sometimes for people, not educated, or ignorant about certain things. So that's a great story.
The same happened at the Fennel School in Waltham. The dentist, okay? Dentist who was about to restrain him in a chair. Evelyn told the dentist, no, this is not how you operate on somebody with autism. You talk to him, and the conversation was taken, and the Novocaine, okay? And at the end, he took it without a doubt, no fight.
Restraint. And
People automatically assume because of past experience, right? And because Reggie's big, right? I mean, that was part of it. It's got to be. He was fearful, and he just assumed. Yeah, and didn't check it out. Yeah, and you were assertive. So let me ask you, right now, I'm going to bring you, I know you've been on Zoom. You guys are obviously following, this.
I got 5 of them scheduled for today.
I mean, you've been very busy. The deaths, that we've seen happen, especially, I had forgotten about the woman in, I just remembered the jogger, and I remember Floyd, Brianna, and so there was 3 from March to a few weeks ago. 3 very glaring examples of, and supposedly people of color and disability are the most affected by this. And we have a story, remember, in Miami a few years ago, where the policeman was aiming for the man with the disability, and he shot the staff person. I shouldn't be laughing about it. It's not funny. And I can't believe I just laughed about that. They survived. That's probably why it's like a relief. But what do you think? Do you think this can be pervasive? You faced this, and people from Happy and elsewhere faced it in the 70s, 80s. Do you think will be prolonged enough through this period? Because we even have it within our own system, right? It's harder. We have some multicultural family support centers, but we're not probably as robust. We're not as robust as we could be in terms of the broader community.
Well, for a while, it seemed to be that America was truly on the right path, as this, we claim it the land of opportunity. But in any place, you look at racial tension and conflicts between groups are due primarily to issues of power, privilege, and control. As a trained person who's done the police on both sides of the aisle, the military and the civilian, I think you take on that job, you took on the oath, you have to be there. I say the police today is too militarized. The police today have too much power. Maybe they have too many functions. At the same time, they're too quick to kill. I used to say to my friend, I say, when I drop out of medical school and join the military, my first job joining the military was to kill people. That's what they teach you, okay? So the training has to be changed to, years ago, I told Evelyne, you remember we used to see, and I'm sure you saw, we used to see community police. We saw more police walking the street than we saw police cruisers. Right? Now, I'll give you other example. You look at a guy went to Atlanta, walked to a church. He's a Caucasian, killed 9 people. They handcuffed him without no pressure. Okay, they took him out, they didn't push him. And the guy went out there and passed a $20 fake bill. Okay, as a policeman, if I didn't have a personal issue with him, I will talk to him to find out whether or not he was in the need of that $20. I put a pitch in my pocket, give him that $20. I'm not judging what took place because I wasn't there on the spot, but there are better social approach to do the way you treat a killer and the way you treat somebody who's committing civil criminal, not even criminal crime, civil issues. So for a country who's going to be 244 years, it is sad to see instead of us moving forward, we are moving backwards, okay? Years ago, you're talking about recently that kid who got hung, I believe in Texas, a black guy, okay? People say he hung himself. That's not true. He was hung by certain things. We have no reason to believe today that we're gonna be equally on the same level, because I wrote a paper when in my advanced studies about equality. In any given society, that doesn't exist, okay? It doesn't exist. It will never exist. But I'll tell you what can and should be exist. Opportunity for all, better treatment for all, conversing for all. I even went further. I said, I don't mind arresting a guy, and when I get to the station, I slap you a little bit, not to kill you, but if you step on my feet, you can do that. But doing it on the street, when today everybody owns what you call a recorder, a camera, that's a lack of respect. And this is not what I expected from it. Racism became a contribution to disorder, because what it does now, look what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 99 years ago. No one knew.
Juneteenth, which I never knew. I never even heard of that until a year ago.
For the past 3 years on Black Heritage Month, which is on February, I have a group of people that always called on me to talk to them. One of the things I showed them, half of the things that has been invented in America were invented by Black people. So we may have a skin color differences. When somebody say, Henry, you Black, I usually play it well, okay? Play with their mind, say, yeah, but you probably colorblind. So I'll pull up my phone who is Black and put it against me and say, where's the Blackness?
Right.
Okay? That's how I play with them.
Right.
Today in America, I go to do some.
Can I say, Henry, before you say something on that, Juneteenth, a lot of people, Tulsa, there was an incident in an office building. There was a vibrant, it was called Black Wall Street, the section where African Americans lived, and basically people of color who had wonderful economic lives. I assume it was somewhat segregated because it was, America, but there was clearly give and take between everybody. They were very successful. And one incident in a building resulted in whites going to that part of Tulsa and literally burning it to the ground, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And there's a new TV show, which I was telling my wife, we started to watch it, and I can't remember the name right now, which starts, I think, with that incident.
Well, actually, this Friday we holding right now. If you go by Medford City Hall, you will see the June 10th flags has been raised. Okay, we're trying to bring it into people to understand. African American giving an opportunity will do good for this country. They have. Okay, African American living in America, they were there before the colony from Europe came in. They've been there for 15,000 years, okay? They've been there. It's not slavery who brought them there. The idea of old slavery, modern slavery, no slavery has to be gone. A human being has to be treated as okay. I'm not saying when a police, the reason when a police stop an African American person, citizen, the first thing that comes into that person's mind, he say, how they gonna treat me? And that's what brings that disorder. Say, I'm not gonna let them take him. I'm gonna rather die here and get it over with, because if they brought me into the station, they're gonna do worse to me. Let the people see what it is. So
I get nervous with the police, and what you're saying, the average African American, forget nervous. It's like a whole different experience.
Correct.
Wow.
So, the treatment behind it, because you look at the police aggressive behavior contribute to that disorder. It's a disease. It's a disease. Just like I told you, disease are not treated with other disease. If you think you have a superiority, you think you have more authority, you're going to really upward. But if you look at the person in front of you as a human being, you can Let's look at the case of Friday in Atlanta. There was no reason to shoot that guy.
Right.
The police could keep their gun and run until they caught that guy. Period. Two police officers cannot run after a guy who's been drinking. That makes
Yeah,
no
I hear
sense.
you. I
Makes
hear
no
you.
sense.
Yeah.
If he had a gun and try to point that gun at you, that would be different. Because in the law, they know well a teaser is not harmful.
Right.
It's not, a teaser will control you. That's what it was. So the guy took, maybe he was insulted. The guy took the teaser from him. Okay, I can see that he's losing his, because once you go to the station, you get treated differently. But the point it's another thing I want to make a point that I told people, it's about time after 244 years that the so-called white population changed their behavior, changed their reasoning, because we've been fighting for the Black population. Now it's time you see most of it get together. You look at those protests around the world, The biggest, the largest protest around the world was held in Germany.
Wow.
Who would have thought that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what we have to make it says, if we try to people used to tell us, we're not, or people will say, we do something, say, oh, you're not Haitian. Yes, I'm Haitian. That's where I was born. Okay. I'll tell you all the thing. I go for public engagement when I have to do, speech motivation to organizations. Soon I start speaking, people will raise and say, where are you from? I say, well, why are you here? To find out where I'm from, or you here to listen to what I have to say? Because my accent is not what is going to deter you. Try to find out. I've done it in front of 5,000 people. I've done it in front of 3,000. They'll say, where are you from? And I'll play with them. I say, I'm from Medford. Okay. And I always tell people, as an American, I am from Medford. That's why my birthplace of becoming an American citizen was in Medford. Okay, for over 50 plus years.
Right.
So you don't tell me. I said, no, it's not what I asked you. Okay, what did you ask? Oh, but you asked the wrong question. You don't even know how to ask it. You should have asked me where I was born. I probably will tell you Haiti, but I am from Medford.
Right.
This is how,
Great point. Another way to, my parents had accents. We all immigrated here when I was 4. And I lost, obviously I was too young to have developed one, but I'd always notice people's reaction to the accent. And I probably was uptight about it when I was a teenager, right? I probably, and then I got older and started using my Armenian name for a while as a source of pride. But it is a way people, it's a silly way, right? That we all, instead of sitting down and having a conversation and talking about our upbringing right away at a big group, making that the question. You know what I want to do? Before I ask you any more questions, I want to see if Kerry's got some chat questions for you guys from the audience, okay?
okay.
And I'm really, Henry and Evelyne, you guys came prepared. This is already, we've been on, I can't believe it. It's already like 12:34. So I want to make sure we've got 10 or 11 minutes. I want to make sure if there's any chat questions, and then we'll keep going if there aren't. Kerry, are there any questions that?
No questions, just a lot of people very grateful, Henry and Evelyne, for sharing your stories and educating us. So thank you. And Liz did remark that the city of Boston recently declared racism as a public health crisis.
Oh, wow. So as what Henry was saying, a disease. Okay, so Beth's asking, Kerry, I just saw on you. And by the way, thank you, Kerry, for the heads up on that TV show, the name of it, The Watchmen. Yeah, it started with the Tulsa episode. Do you find any discrimination in healthcare for Reggie in Greater Boston? Did you or do you? Short of those incidents you described where people jump to conclusion about his autism.
Leo, I'm pretty sure you could have answered that for us. A lot of us, yes, we have. Believe it or not, I recall when MDDC used to hold their weekends retreat down the Cape, and that's when I found out about. And if we had it with Reggie, Reggie will be better speech. Okay, for 27 years, I tried to get Reggie into speech therapy. At one point, I had to keep it a secret from Evelyne because if she knew, she would tell me stop because she went through it herself. We've been denying certain health insurance for Reggie.
Yeah.
Okay, at one point we even told them, we said, well, we're gonna have to sue. Okay, if we can sue the organization, we can sue the guy who signed that authorization. We've been through appeal process. Okay, we get rejected. We get rejected a lot. But one thing I've learned, Evelyne always said it, and I teach my kids the same way. Teach my granddaughter, I said, never ever take no for an answer. No is a refuse. They refuse to give you something that's there for all of us. My son Reggie was, as a born American, is entitled as a human being, okay, to health care, just like any other human being. By you refusing it under my, I will say under our family plan, which I was paying top dollar for, okay, you're violating something within your own policy that says, I have a family plan. Reggie was, whether he was adopted, okay, as long as he is part of the family, he's entitled under to have that same benefit. So we had lot of them. We had a lot of them. So are we where we are? Will we ever be where we were? Okay, where we want to be? I don't know. I don't have the answer. And this is one of the reasons I'm still being a part of it. I'm still being a voice as much as I can be. A friend of mine told me about 5 years ago, why are you still involved at your age? I said, I have two things to do. I can go home, sit down, watch CNN every day until I drop dead, but I can be out there speaking, okay, to make life better for people with disability, for the underserved community. If I made a difference into one person's life, I think we did something. Because if it wasn't for family to family, if it wasn't for Act of Mass, okay, if it wasn't for MDDC, okay, it was the entire organization, we want to be where we were today, because when I walk, Evelyne walked to Act, we will receive as human beings. We will receive as family with people with disability. No one ever asked me where you from, okay? No one ever asked me what's wrong with my accent. Everybody helps us, and we are who we are today because of those organizations.
And you in return helped a lot of people too. You in return.
That's what we're supposed to do, because like they say, I don't want to go with it. It says your blessing is not for you to use. Your blessing is for you to receive and share with other people. And that's what we try to do. Yeah. That's what we try to do.
One thing, if I may say, as a parent in this atmosphere, Reggie used to take the buses to go to work. Now I wouldn't let that happen.
Wow.
Yeah, you see, we going backward. Since Reggie was 14 years old, he used to take the bus on his own to go to work. And after turning 22, Reggie worked 5 years at Burlington Mall. He takes two buses independently from Medford to Arlington and from Arlington to Burlington. Now, even I wouldn't let Reggie use the public transportation. No.
It just feels so much worse, whether it's people or potentially police in a different town. That would see him the wrong way. That would make a snap judgment.
We had a story we can share with you. Okay, Reggie started to ride bikes in his own because his sister, who's 2 years younger than him, had a bike, and everyone I was out at work, and my mother used to live here at the time, but somebody was here with Reggie at the time. So whenever he came here, who was riding the bike in our street? Reggie. And he didn't have a bike. No one ever taught him how to ride a bike. Then we get to a point we said, well, there's a park right on the Wellington in the circle in Medford where it's safe. Evelyne will take her car, put 2 bikes in there, one for her, one for Reggie, and they can go right back there, right, without a problem. Well, Reggie ended up in Belmont, which is almost 3 towns away from us.
Right.
So Evelyne was going crazy because she couldn't find Reggie. What happened, the event, we received a phone call. That's when Reggie knew his phone number. That's when his address.
Thank God.
When the police call, this is Belmont Police. What can we help you? How can we help you, sir? Well, we found your son. What do you mean you found my son? Where? He's right here at the Belmont Police Station with a bicycle.
Did you know he knew his phone number at that point that he could? Yeah, you did. Okay.
At that point, he knew his name. He could have write it, and all that was taught to him by his sister. Whatever she learned in elementary school, she brought it home and taught Reggie the same. Whatever she brought, we taught Reggie the same. But Reggie is more into politics than anything else. He knows every president of this country since he was born, you know. So the thing that we have to stop treating people like they're a thing. We have to start treating people as property. We have to try to treat people. Sure, we are animal with instinct, but we have to try to treat them as human beings. There's only one race on earth. That's the human race.
Great point.
Everybody look at each other as human. I think we can do a whole lot better. And the one thing I can add to people, I say, don't be afraid to say what you think, as long as you're not disrespecting somebody. Okay? I have my indifferences with my elected official. I live in a town where from the state senator all the way to the school committee, I know every single one of them. I can call every one of them my friends. But do we agree all the time? No, sometimes we don't agree, but we're still friends. We're still friends because we want, all of us are fighting for a better world, a better community, you know? The same thing goes to Boston. I reach out to Boston. Things are happening in Boston. Recently, I was ahead of the pandemic lockdown. On March 8th, Evelyne and I went to a kickoff campaign for state senator. When we came home, I told Evelyne, I don't like the direction of what things are going. The government are not telling us what we should do. We're going to keep Reggie home. That's it. As of today, we're going to stop everything. We did. 5 days later, that was on March 8th. 5 days later, making it March 13th, the city where I live closed school. The following Monday, that was Monday the 15th, the state of Massachusetts, the governor closed school. Tuesday, March 16th, the Boston closed school, and they told people to stay there. So in other words, we were 5 days ahead of the government.
Yeah.
So you gotta use, if we use our, what we call our reasoning, we use our ability to understand things, we can make good decision. Good decision.
And we can do that in this case too. We've got a ways.
There's no reason about it. Like there's one thing that is missing in the military that I taught that as a instructor for the Army. It's that teach people race relation. I don't think they teach kids that in schools. I don't think they teach people that in the police department. They teach you how to fight, how to shoot, how to kill, but they don't teach you how to relate with other that has different complex of skin as you. You know, race relation is important. That's something right now I'm bringing out too. Other thing, we look at the police force. How can you be the judge, the jury, the executor all at once? If a police did something that is entirely different, he or she should be going in front of a civil advisory board, civil commission to discuss it. So that is missing.
Yeah.
You look at that. We in the country of USA, our president is not a military person. Our president is a civilian. He's the commander in chief.
Right.
Why can't we have a civilian commission to look at into the police conduct?
This is great. I want to tell you one more thing on the chat from Tracy. You are my heroes. I can barely stand to watch the news. Thank you for your dedication and courage. I want to thank you for being on today. This was great. I want to end that way because I think you ended with something that could be done, a recommendation. It's great seeing you guys through the video. We haven't seen each other since that taping, so hang in there. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor that we could spend such a time with you and share the way we see things. Stay healthy, be safe, and we will do anytime you call, we'll be there.
Thanks. Thank you, Evelyne. Love you guys. Take care. And everybody else, have a great day. Tomorrow, and when is tomorrow? Carrie won't have her live. We have a training tomorrow.
Okay.
Carrie's behind the curtain. You can't see her.
I know. I recognize that voice. I recognize that voice.
So
yeah, I'm the ARC logo here. Yeah. So tomorrow and Wednesday there is a 2-part training on trauma. So and then Maura and Ellen will be on again on Thursday. So we'll see you all then. Thank you, Henry and
How do you
Great
register?
to see you.
How do you
Bye-bye.
register?
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay.
I'll take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yes.